What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We are back checking out another rugby team today. This one is going to be the Ireland team. We've already done these so far for Wales, England and Scotland. I'm trying to get through them as best I can. Just creating some of these graphics takes so long to get down, which is why they're coming out so slow, as well as YouTube not allowing me to upload videos at any decent speed. So the Ireland team, of course, did okay in the Autumn Nations Cup. They did have a lot of injuries and a lot of new players coming on. They weren't able to beat England, but they did, of course, do well against Georgia and Wales, so they'll be quite happy with their performance, I think, in that Autumn Nations Cup, especially with beating Scotland at the end of it, which I actually thought Scotland could potentially have won. And then, of course, in the Six Nations last year, they did okay. They've been doing pretty consistently, getting about third for a little while now. They drew with Scotland in that Six Nations last year, but I'm sure they'll want to improve on it, especially with coming up against Scotland in the 2023 World Cup. They'll be wanting to get a much more dominant win over Scotland when it comes round to the Six Nations this year. With saying that, let's check out the team that's going to be playing in the Six Nations. So starting off with the forwards, they have loaded so many forwards into this team. This is an incredibly large amount of people going into this team. This took a long time to note down all the names and put them in some sort of understandable order for you. So starting off with this front row, Cian Healy, a fantastic player. I think he's awesome. He's doing really well. He is getting on a few years in terms of age, but he's doing very well with his job. Dave Kilcoyne's going to be backing him up. We've got Rob Herring, Dave Heffernan, Ronan Kelleher and Andrew Porter, Taj Furlong. I mean, that 3 jersey is competitive right now. Andrew Porter and Taj Furlong, to me, are two of the best number 3s that Ireland have to offer. I think it's very close between them, offering two very different sort of game styles. Taj Furlong is just weight and going forward, and Andrew Porter's a very sort of technical number 3. I think he's very, very good at his job. It's going to be a tight number 3 between the two of them to see who you want to pick for that. Moving forward into the locks, we've got Tom O'Toole, who's not someone I know a lot about. There's a couple of players in this Irish team they're going to experiment a little bit with. Tom O'Toole and Alton Delan, I hope I'm not butchering that name too much, are players I don't know an awful lot about, so it's going to be fun to see some new experimental players going in here. Quinn Rue, of course, we got to see in the Autumn Nations Cup, who did very well, got himself a try. I think it was on his debut. Very, very tall lad. He did well at the lineouts, actually. I think he played a lot, but when he played in 4, there was a game I think they did put him on at 5, and I don't think I liked him there. He was much better at 4. Ian Henderson, of course, a very competent Irish line-out winger. I think he's going to do a lot of work for this Irish team. I think he'll probably be maybe first choice for that number 4 shirt if he gets it. James Ryan, of course, they want to have him in. He's the captain for some games. He's doing very well at that number 5. Line-outs winning. Bit of a downside to his game seems to be the amount of penalties he does give away. I feel like an awful lot of penalties come from James Ryan, so hopefully he'll be able to clean up his game a little bit. Taj Byrne and Will Connors are also going to be coming in. Taj Byrne, I think, is a fantastic player. Of course, he did well when he was playing back at the Scarlets. He's now moved into the Irish teams, and I think he's proven himself to be a very, very dominant player and deserves a place in this Irish team. In this back row, in fact, we've got quite a few going on here. Josh van der Fleer, of course, a fantastic player. They've gone for a bit of experience actually looking at this lineup. Peter Manny, fantastic tournament. I thought Peter O'Mahony was past his age. I thought he was going to be fizzling out slowly in this Irish team. Of course, he moved sort of just being the bench warmer that was going to come on and do well. But that Autumn Nations Cup, he proved everyone wrong. He played very well, doing full 80 minutes in some of them. Rhys Ruddock's going to be coming in. Looking forward to seeing a bit from him. Keelan Doris, of course, will probably be contending for that 8th jersey, but I think with CJ Stander there, I love CJ Stander. I think he's a brilliant number 8. So I think between him and Keelan Doris, maybe Keelan Doris might take the 6th shirt. I think he can do 6 or 8. So maybe he'll be competing for that, but maybe they'll put Keelan Doris on instead of CJ Stander against maybe the Scotland or the Italy game. But overall, they have loaded this forwards team up. Ireland obviously want to bring a heavy pack, a lot of big boys in this forwards team. So I think they're going to create a bit of a dichotomy. I think they want to have very heavy set forwards. I think they're going to go for a bit of a power game forwards. And then looking at the backs, which we'll chuck on screen for you guys, they have gone for pretty much speed and technical ability. There isn't a lot of super heavy people playing in this back line, but in terms of speed and ability, I think this is a very sort of opposite to what we've got in the forward. So looking at the scrum halves, of course, Conor Murray and Jameson Gibson Park. We got to see Conor Murray, of course, being dominant in that number 9 jersey. I don't think he was happy losing in that one game to having the starting jersey. Went to Jameson Gibson Park, who did feel he got a little bit run over being the new boy on the scene. I think Conor Murray does impress very well still, and I'm sure will still be the first choice scrum half. And then we get to see Craig Casey come in, who I'm looking forward to seeing. Nice to see a bit of mixing up and getting some new blood in. Of course, Jameson Gibson Park will be looking to compete for that scrum half jersey, so Craig Casey hopefully can do a little bit to get himself a bit of time in that jersey as well. Not just content with 3 scrum halves, they've also gone for 3 fly halves. Johnny Sexton, Ross Byrne and Billy Burns. Of course, Jonathan Sexton will be the main choice fly half. Billy Burns really impressed me in the Autumn Nations Cup, actually. He looked a little bit lost to begin with, but once he settled into the game, looked very in control. And I think between Ross Byrne and Billy Burns, it's going to be a big competition to see who's going to be the second string fly half. Who will they choose over that? Ross Byrne, I feel really bad for the guy. He's a very talented fly half, but when you've got the likes of Johnny Sexton around you, just doesn't seem to get that start as often as he would like to. But Johnny Sexton does pick up quite a few injuries, so I'm sure Ross Byrne and Billy Burns will have a good bit of game time, hopefully, over this Six Nations. Moving on to the backs, we got James Lowe, who had a brilliant tournament. Of course, Wales tried to rough him up in their game, and he went and scored a try against them. He's proved himself as a solid number 11. I'm not sure how versatile he is at being able to switch to 14, but I'm sure he'll be doing very well. Shane Daly, looking forward to seeing him come back in for some wing action. He's doing well at club level. It'll be nice to see him in an international jersey. Hugo Keenan, of course, has been doing very well in the Autumn Nations Cup, and I think towards the end of the Six Nations when we got to see him first. But he can also do 11 and 14. I think he even plays a bit of fullback as well. They seem to mix it up an awful lot going on there. Someone you will see missing from a similar area of Hugo Keenan to play both wings and the fullback that isn't in this team, surprisingly, is Stockdale, which I've had a look for. I've seen a couple of different things about why Stockdale isn't in. I don't know if he's out completely injured or if he's just not been picked for the team. Anyone who's a bit of an Irish supporter and follower knows a little bit more than me, feel free to drop down in the comments why Stockdale hasn't made it to this team. Stockdale not been on top of his game 100% recently, making quite a few mistakes, couple of forward passes going on. I know he suffered a little bit of knocks. People have been having a go at him on social media. I know what that's like when you get things wrong. But hopefully he'll be able to make it back into the team relatively soon. I am a fan of Stockdale. He's just not quite at the top of his game at the minute. Moving on to the centres, Bundyaki and Robbie Henshaw, a great set of 12s that could go in there. I think Robbie Henshaw can also play 13. Stuart McCloskey's coming back in. I thought he had a great game, and I felt so bad that his try got disallowed where he ran it from the halfway line in the Autumn Nations Cup. Think he's a great player. So glad to see him back in the team after a number of years out of international. Chris Farrell, of course, a bit of their set number 13 they like to do when Gary Ringrose isn't in. It's nice to see Gary Ringrose's name is back in the sheet, actually. He was out with an injury for a little while that meant he couldn't play. I'm a big fan of Gary Ringrose. I think he's a very technical centre, able to pick really good lines. May not be the best sort of defensively. He's not the heaviest centre in the world. He does let a couple of tackles go past him, but in terms of running good lines to open up defences, I think Gary Ringrose is brilliant. And then to finish it off on this right wing, Andrew Conway and Keith Earls, I think, will compete for that 14 shirt, but I wouldn't be surprised in this Irish team if they want to move Hugo Keenan over to that right wing and Keith Earls and Andrew Conway can fight it out for an 11 or 14. I don't think they really matter. And then, of course, finally, Jordan Larmour. What a name to be coming back into this Irish team. Jordan Larmour is a fantastic fullback. And what I'm seeing across the board in the backs here is versatility to move between 1, 14 and 15. And I think this is something that Ireland are definitely trying to target. We've got James Lowe, Hugo Keenan, Keith Earls, Andrew Conway, Jordan Larmour, all of whom I think are going to be happy switching between 1 and 14 anyway, but also some of those players are happy to go back and play fullback. I think there's a lot of versatility in here, so the team to me seems to be the forwards are going to go for huge tackles and a power game, so I think a lot of this Irish team is going to be quite slow games through the Six Nations, and then once teams begin to tire, they've got some explosive backs who can pick some good lines and try and break through some good running lines and get a bit of pace on the go. But overall, I think it's a very strong Ireland team. Actually, I thought they were going to have a few injuries coming into this. They seem to have recovered most of their key players being injured. So actually, I think Ireland could be in with a good shout in there. The video I did a couple of weeks back where I talked through games that were going to happen, I did sort of rule Ireland out of winning this tournament. But looking at this team, there is a potential tournament winning team here if they can perform together and produce some exciting rugby. So as we've done with all the other videos, guys, I'm going to combine them together, create what I think is the best 15 out of these people that I would create for my fantasy team. You guys let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with this. So starting off at the top, of course, Cian Healy has to be my number one. I think he's currently the best prop in that position in Ireland at the minute. I think he's superb. Technical ability, weight, scrummaging, I think he's got it all. So Cian Healy's going to be my number one. Rob Herring is going to be my number two. I think he's very, very good. There seems to be a little bit of lacking in the Irish number two ever since Rory Best went out, of course. Rory Best was such a good number two, so I think that's where they've been finding a little bit of issues, but I think Rob Herring's doing that job pretty well. Andrew Porter is going to take my number 3. I think Andrew Porter is a fantastic number 3. It's so close between him and Taj Furlong. Of course, we've been seeing Taj Furlong scoring tries, which feels ridiculous for a prop to be managing. But Andrew Porter, I think, technically is so good. And you can see him in the picture in the background there. He just looks angry at everything. I think he's a fantastic player. Looking forward to seeing a bit more from Andrew Porter. My 4 and 5, I've gone for Quinn Roux and Taj Byrne. Taj Byrne does sort of play all over the place. He can do 4, 5, or sometimes 6. But I think Taj Byrne is brilliant in terms of the line-out, and Quinn Roux's been doing some great running play. Taj Byrne is also superb at turning over a ball, which I think is such a nice area to have in a lock. We see it in England when you have Maro Itoje. Having locks that can also work as your flankers in terms of turning over a ball, I think is a key issue, and I think Ireland will be using that as a very big exploit. Moving into the 6, 7 and 8, Josh van der Fleer, again, fantastic running, great over the ball, great in counter-rucking, very, very useful. I've given Peter O'Mahony my 7 shirt, which feels ridiculous. It feels like he's played in this Ireland team for a million years, but Peter O'Mahony is currently really in form, playing really well, doing great rugby, winning turnovers, winning penalties, doing brilliantly in terms of scrum, picking the ball up from a scrum, picking the ball up from a ruck. Been really impressed with Peter O'Mahony. He gets my number 7 shirt. CJ Stander will take my number 8. Everyone loves CJ Stander. Big ball carrier. A great running number 8 for Ireland, and I think when you get to play him off of the number 9, I think he can work very well. People have to send men to tackle CJ Stander. You can't just do one man. You've got to send 2. Allows him that little offload to my number 9 of Conor Murray. We know how good Conor Murray is. We don't need to go into how good Conor Murray is in that scrum half position. Box kicks are fantastic. Passing is quick. Getting the ball out of a ruck is quick. He's also one of the very niche scrum halves that, although he complains to the ref, it doesn't seem to be annoying, and he seems to call out and win a lot of penalties when it comes down to that breakdown. Conor Murray, an expert in the number 9 shirt there. Johnny Sexton's going to take my number 10. It was a bit of a toss-up actually between Johnny Sexton and Billy Burns. Billy Burns was impressive, but I think Jonathan Sexton, just with the experience edge, as well as I'm sure he will gain a captaincy through the Six Nations as he has done. He's a good leader. If he can get sort of his complaining and whining a little bit under control, he does throw his hands up in the air an awful lot, but a very talented kicker and a very good positional kicker as well. My number 11 I've given to James Lowe. I think James Lowe's got a lot more to offer this Irish team. Very quick runner and a bit of danger runner over on that left wing. Looking forward to see what he can do. My 13 and 12, bit of a switch up here. People probably won't be too happy to missing Bundy Aki here, but I think Robbie Henshaw's done a really good job in that centre position. He can play 12 or 13. I really like Robbie Henshaw at that 12. I think he's a very aggressive number 12. I think Bundy Aki's quite a one-dimensional player in terms of running straight lines, and although very consistent and competent, I think Robbie Henshaw offers a bit of a two-dimensional approach of being able to go with a running attack line, but also quite skillful in terms of passing. I think it'll be nice to see Robbie Henshaw in that 12. Gary Ringrose is going to go back in at my number 13. Very similar reasons to Robbie Henshaw. A very technical 13. Not huge on the defensive element, which is probably his downside, but good running lines and also a good ball carrier, trying to make some good distance, allowing my number 14, Hugo Keenan, can play 11, 14 or 15. Got some good switch up there, but Hugo Keenan's done very well. Looking forward to seeing a lot more gameplay from him. He deserves to have that 14 shirt in my opinion. And finally, Jordan Lama in that 15 shirt. I am a huge fan of Jordan Lama and I cannot wait to see him back. We see some of those counter runs he does if people decide to kick over the line and get it to Jordan Lama. He is so dangerous on that counter attack run. He's sort of like the Irish Stuart Hogg. I'm looking forward to seeing Jordan Lama, but let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with my best team? Do you think there's some changes I should have made? Who would go in your best 15 out of the team that's been named? Drop it down in the comments. I've been really enjoying seeing people's comments about who they would pick in their team and who they enjoy and whether they think I'm right or wrong. Mostly it's wrong, as it the way it goes normally on YouTube. But let me know what you guys think. I am going to be doing these for every team. We've done 4 so far. We've only got 2 left, so make sure you subscribe to the channel just to keep up to date with all of the videos as they are coming out. I hope you've all enjoyed today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye bye.